Hey guys, how are you? I am so excited to be back. I know that things kind of stopped abruptly here a little bit over a month ago, and I'm sorry for that. I did not plan on taking a little summer sabbatical, but it was something that I really needed to do inside the season that I was in. And I hope that you can give me some grace for that, because I've given myself the grace, and that is all that matters right now. Basically, this episode here, I'm just going to catch you up on what I've been going through this last couple months, how my family's been spending our time together, and what you can look forward to in the coming episodes of the Weisz Photographer podcast.
Welcome to the Weisz Photographer podcast with your host, Chelsy Weisz. Each week, Chelsy is bringing you the best tips and tricks to help you create a joyful, profitable, more purpose-filled photography business. Chelsy is a wife and mom of two who has built a thriving photography business in her tiny hometown in western North Dakota. Without further ado, here's your host, Chelsy Weisz.
All right, so I just want to take a couple steps back and kind of explain why I ended up taking a little bit more of a summer sabbatical. When COVID hit this spring, I had a lot on my plate. I was helping out with our church with their online streaming. I had the podcast that we were doing. I was all of a sudden homeschooling our first grader and chasing our now 3-year-old son around the house. And then we were calving, and then we were seeding, and then the greenhouse started up, and the greenhouse was insanely busy, and we had to move stuff to online orders for that. And it was kind of a lot, but I was trudging through, I was churning out content. I was kind of trying to be everything for everyone, and it was working. And then some COVID cases hit a little bit closer to home. We just started having more cases in our area. And that is when I really started to spiral downward. And that is because back in February, I was diagnosed with PTSD following all of my husband's heart surgeries, which seems a little crazy to me that it has affected me as much as it did. The first time I really got a real look at how this was affecting me was in November of last year, November of 2019. Justin, my husband, had a routine cardiology appointment, and his regular cardiologist was out of town, so we saw the PA, and we knew we were going to see the PA, which was fine. But then there ended up being just a couple little adjustments that they needed to make on his pacemaker. So the pacemaker team came in and made those adjustments, and it took a little bit of time. I don't know, maybe half hour, 45 minutes for them to do all that. And it was totally fine. We went home. Everything was fine. We were going to see his cardiologist, his regular cardiologist, in 6 months and go from there. And then just a couple days later, we got a call from the scheduler for cardiologist, and she said that the cardiologist wanted to see him as soon as next week, and she didn't really say why. And that really sent me into this panicked overdrive anxiety state, and I could just feel these emotions all bubbling up inside of me and just feeling out of control. And you have to understand that all of Justin's surgeries had started with a phone call like this, a phone call that didn't really have a clear expectation of what to expect whenever we got to the next appointment. But there was an appointment that needed to happen. It needed to happen very soon. And then we should get more answers. But that waiting period in between the phone call and that appointment is when I kind of start to spiral down. And so we went to this next appointment, and we were so thankful to find out that this really, truly just ended up being a scheduling error on their end. For some reason, his cardiologist thought that we had wanted to see him sooner than the 6-month appointment. So he just went over some medication and rechecks and blood work and everything was fine. And we went home, and everything went back to normal, right? It should have. Everyone was fine. But for me, my body and my mind and my emotions were still stuck in that panicky, worried stage. I was still functioning. I was still, getting up and doing everything I needed to do, but I could feel myself starting to spiral down into this depressive state. And that was the first time I really realized, really saw that for myself. Pulled myself out of it. Everything was fine. And then in February, Justin had an appointment with ear, nose, and throat for some nosebleeds that he has had. And that was kind of important because he's on blood thinners, so it's a little bit more complicated. But everything ended up being fine. He started doing nasal rinses, nosebleeds stopped, he drank more water. It was just really dry in winter in North Dakota, and that's kind of what was causing these nosebleeds. But there I was again in that panic stage, and there was no reason for me to be in it. So that's when I really made the decision that it was time for me to go to my doctor and really kind of talk out all these feelings that I'm having and emotions. And I was diagnosed with PTSD. And my trigger is, it's crazy for me to wrap my mind around, and I don't know if anyone else actually understands it or not, but I got into therapy. I've had some medication changes for myself, and, was really feeling pretty prepared for anything that could arise. And then COVID hit in March for our area in like the middle of March. And that was when it started to kind of overwhelm me again. So being able to, slowly get rid of all these things that were on my plate so that I could really just kind of come back to myself and center myself and really just take some time to be thankful for what I do have in my life and what I do have control of. And honestly, we don't have control over anything in our lives. Nothing is ever promised. We don't truly have control over stuff, but we can control how we react to things. And that was something that I really had to understand and to process a little bit more deeply than I originally thought that I needed to. So this summer, we have been taking a lot of time as a family to go camping. We got a camper this spring, and all of our state parks in North Dakota are still open. So we've been able to go to state parks all across the state, which has been really, really wonderful just to watch the kids, learn how to ride their bikes and go fishing and just really just relax and spend time away from screens, away from social media, away from the news, and just kind of unwind. I'm recording this right now. I should be packing because we're going on another kind of last minute camping trip this afternoon, but the kids are over at grandma's house right now, and my husband Justin is washing the pickup, and I packed up everything quick and decided I would record an episode while the house was a little bit quiet still. But besides camping, I've also been in my garden so much this summer. This spring, I built raised garden beds, and if you haven't seen them yet, you can check them out on my highlights over on my Instagram at Chelsy Weisz over there. And it's just been so life-giving for me to just be able to get away for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just to go out to the garden and get my hands dirty and pull weeds or pick peas, or right now I've got cucumbers coming out of my ears. And I've just really enjoyed that space. And I've kind of decided that, I've talked to you guys about how I'm kind of the crazy plant lady, so this shouldn't surprise any of you at all. But the podcast is going to continue to be all about photography, business, and marketing, and all of that fun jazz. But I'm also on the blog going to be sharing a little bit more about my gardening adventures and my houseplants and that kind of thing. So if you're interested in keeping up with that, you can check out the blog, which is chelseyweisz.com/blog. You can also find it over at the wisephotographerpodcast.com. But if you want to make sure that you never miss any of those posts or any of these episodes, definitely head over to chelseyweisz.com/email, and you can get on my email list. This email list is something that I haven't really dropped this whole summer. I've kind of dropped everything else, but I've continued to send out emails weekly on Sundays, and it's been so amazing to get to connect with all of my listeners from across the globe. It blows my mind that a farm wife in the middle of nowhere, North Dakota, can connect with people all the way from England to Australia to Austria. It's been wonderful getting to know so many of you, and I just want to take the time right now to thank you for continuing to support me and this podcast and this community. It has been so wonderful and life-giving, and I appreciate it so much. You really have no idea how much it means to hear back from you guys on those emails. So if you want to get on that email list, that is where I'm sharing, exclusive content, updates on the garden and my family, and a few more personal notes. Again, you can go to Chelsy Weisz, weisz.com/email. And there's a sign up form there, and you will get on the weekly newsletter list. The other thing that I wanted to kind of share with you guys is what everything is going to look like going forward from here. Starting next week, we will be continuing with our regularly scheduled stuff. So we'll be putting out weekly episodes on Tuesdays. You can expect those to drop early in the morning. And then the blog will be updated on Thursdays. So we'll be putting out 2 big pieces of content on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then putting out emails on Sundays as well. We've got some really great episodes already lined up and recorded for the next few weeks. We've got a great lineup guest guest episodes, which I'm so excited for you guys to meet some amazing people in our industry. But we're also looking for more guests to come on the show and share some more tactical tips and tricks for building a successful and sustainable photography business. So if you are interested in being a guest on the show, or you know someone who would make an amazing guest for the show, you can go to thewisephotographerpodcast.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there is a little nomination form right down there. And you can nominate yourself, or you can nominate someone else that you think would be an awesome fit for the podcast. And we will do our best to get you or them lined up in upcoming episodes in the next few weeks. But I just wanted to take this time today just to say hi, check in, tell you what all I've been up to. It's been a good summer. It's been a summer of refresh and refocus. That's kind of been my 2 words for the last couple months. And I'm so glad that I have been able to take the time. It's kind of been a little bit of a forced sabbatical, but it was a needed one. And I'm glad that I took the time and didn't just, brush this off, because I think it really could have been detrimental to me and my relationships and my family if I hadn't taken this time off. So I am so excited to be back. There's so much amazing content coming up. I've got a lot of weddings in the next 2 months, which I'm really excited about. It's kind of wedding season here in North Dakota. The colors of the leaves are going to start changing, and there's just a lot of things that I'm so thankful for and so excited for, and ready to really just move forward with this renewed sense of self. And I hope that you have been able to take that time this summer as well. We've got an episode planned for a few weeks from now where we're going to be talking a little bit about, refreshing and refocusing ourselves, and how you can do that in just a couple hours if you need to do that, or if you need to take some extended time off, or how you can be using this time that you might have off already to the largest benefit. So that is it. I will stop rambling for now. Be on the lookout next week for a new episode. Thank you guys again so much for joining me on today's episode and all of our past episodes. If you aren't already subscribed to the newsletter, you can go to chelseyweisz.com/email and sign up there. Make sure also, if you're listening to these episodes and you love this podcast, that you hit subscribe. I know it sounds a little bit silly, but it really does make a difference to us what that subscriber rate is like. So please, if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe on whatever platform it is that you listen to. And if it's not too much, if you could leave a rating and review, that helps out so much, especially with sponsorships and other people kind of finding the show and getting this information out there. So thank you so much for all of your support. I am so excited for you guys to see what is coming up in the next 5 months, I guess, is what's left of 2020. And I'm ready, and I hope you are too. All right, guys, that's it for this week. I will see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Wise Photographer Podcast. Dive into the show's notes for this episode and all past episodes at www.thewisephotographer.com. If you loved the show, share it with a friend. Thanks for tuning in, you Wise Photographer you.